G'day guys, Clarky here. Welcome back to another IGTV, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're watching video. Today I'm going to be rattling off my 2020 player to watch. Now, fun fact, I just recorded half the video and then realized halfway through I had that up, 2019 player to watch. When in fact, we are talking about 2020 player to watches. Now, of course, this is all my opinion. You might agree, you might disagree, and that doesn't really matter because, as I said, guys, it's only my opinion. These are the players I'll be keeping an extra close watch on, and hopefully I can raise some points as to why I believe you should keep a close eye on them also as the 2020 season progresses. So we'll start off with the Brisbane Broncos. I know he's in a storm jumper there, but I've gone with Brodie Croft. Now, for me, I did slightly criticise this signing at the time. And it wasn't because I believe Brodie Croft is a bad player. I believe he wasn't the man the Broncos needed. They needed a dominant, experienced half to come in. And the fact we've never seen Brodie Croft be that man whilst playing alongside Cameron Smith and Cameron Munster gave me some doubts and concerns. But the reason why I'll have my eye on Brodie Croft is because he's never had to be that man. Doesn't mean he can't be that man. And he could be very, very good at it. And we just haven't seen it. We've seen glimpses when he was able to step up and deliver that field goal. I don't remember who it was against. I don't even remember which round it was. I just remember it at some stage. I don't even know if it was last year or the year before. So we have seen a slight glimpse of it. And he's playing behind a pretty credible forward pack, guys. We're talking Payne Haas, Matt Lodge, David Fifita, Alex Glenn, Tavita Pangai Jr., Andrew McCulloch. I mean, I could go on. I really could. They have a fantastic forward pack. And I've got no doubt they will give him the platform and the space he needs to work his magic. Just because he hasn't had to be the main controlling man before doesn't mean he can't. And for that reason, I'll have an extra close eye on Brodie Croft this season. Now, this one here probably slightly controversial in some ways. I suspect most people disagree with this as opposed to agreeing. But hear me out here, guys. Now, this could go either one of two ways. And I think it'll go way two, but I will give you way one. Way one is Hudson Young returns from his suspension and the Raiders just put him in reserve grade and don't call him up unless they need him. Let's just forget about this. We don't need that for our club. Whatever reason they decide. And then there's path two, which I really see happening because we know Ricky Stewart came in and very, very strongly he went against the media. He went against anyone who wanted to say anything against Hudson Young because Hudson Young said to him, "Coach, I'm innocent here." First one, yeah, whatever. People can say what they want, whatever. Second one, coach, I didn't do it. And for that reason, I believe as soon as his suspension is lifted, Hudson Young will be brought straight back into that 17. Maybe not instantly, but we will see him there at some stage in the year. And this is a player hungry to get rid of a grub sort of name tag, hungry to cement himself in the 17. But most importantly for me, hungry to repay the faith his coach Ricky Stewart had in him. Ricky didn't have to go out there and defend him in front of the media and everyone else, but he did. And for that reason, when Hudson Young comes back into the NRL, I'll be keeping a very close eye on him. All right, next one here, Jaden Ockenborough. I did have some interesting stats for this. But unfortunately, as I was waiting, I had all my stats here and bumped it with my elbow while I was typing something and I deleted it. And then I didn't see the undo button in time. So that was really interesting. But essentially, I compared it to Kalen Ponga. His tackle break to line break ratio was very low, but we know he can break tackles pretty good. Jaden Ockenborough's was almost for every tackle break or whatever, about 50% of the time afterwards, he would break the line also. Now, a tackle break can be as simple as you go to tackle me now, I get through, next defender comes, down I go. I still broke a tackle. Was it effective? Did it do anything? No, not really, but I broke a tackle. Ockenborough breaks that tackle and then says, "See you later," and breaks the line. So he goes past all 12 defenders with just the fullback remaining for that statistic to occur. And I think that's just a glimpse of how devastating he can be. Now, for me, he can play wing, centre, back row. He could even come off the bench at 14 and come on wherever Dean Payne needed him. The fact is, Jaden Ockenborough is that much of a dangerous ball runner that he might have other concerns in his game. He might not be the best defensively on the wing, etc. but I think you carry him for just how damaging he can be. And a lot of people do talk about him being such a poor defender and missing tackles. Guys, he's played like 10 NRL games. Like, how do we actually know he is statistically a poor defender? And if you look at the statistics, it's probably not true. It's probably one of those things where he missed 1 or 2 tackles in a game, and a couple of Bulldogs fans like, oh, he's such a bad defender. And then that sort of chat just carried online, because for me, I don't think it's true. You could think it's true, but for me, when I combine all that, Jaden Okunbor, he is a player to watch in 2020. Next one here, we're going to the Cronulla Sharks, Jesse Ramian. Now, I think he's coming back to the Sharks. He's still, I think he's coming back with a point to prove at the Sharks. I should finish my sentences. And, we have a young, super talented player that, despite being dropped during the NRL season, still ranked 3rd for tackle breaks in the whole NRL. And he's still ranking 3rd for tackle breaks in a Knights side that heavily favoured the left side. You think of Kalen Ponga, what do you think of? The trademark skip, long ball to the left. He sort of developed a little bit on the right, but Mitchell Pearce, even though he plays both sides of the field, he loves the left side also. And there wasn't really a dominant 5'8" throughout the year. It was Connor Watson, it was Phoenix Crossland, it was Mason Linu, it was Kurt Mann, it was everyone. But they didn't like the right side either. Every single bit of the Knights' shape and structure focused on the left side. And Jesse Ramian still managed to come in, get his hands on the ball, and break the 3rd amount of tackles in the NRL. If you think Jesse Ramian is coming to the Sharks and will not have a massive impact on them, then I'm sorry, you're just incorrect. Now, you can almost guarantee his spot is cemented there, but with players like Josh Dugan that can play centre, Josh Morris, who will likely be losing that right centre, Matt Moylan, Ronaldo Mulatalo, Sione Katoa, he cannot come to this club and let his guard down. And I know he won't. He will come back and he will be firing. I'm expecting a huge year out of Jesse Ramian. He's my 2020 player to watch for the Cronulla Sharks. Now, this one probably not as well known to the NRL fans, Tremaine Spry, a young gun out of the Gold Coast Titans, my club. And the Titans were hard to pick for because there's a lot of established players at the club that we know sort of where their limit is. And they're either going to go, slightly down or slightly above it. They're not going to come out and, be up here to make them a player to watch. So I'll go with Tremaine Spry, who hasn't actually made his debut in the NRL, but he was pretty strong last year for Tweed Coast, and he did play for the Maroons in under-20s. I don't believe he will be there in round 1. However, I believe if any injury occurs to an outside back, he could be next in line. I think a debut will come at some stage throughout 2020. And I thought it was a little bit strange that Garth Brennan never actually had a chat with him about a debut, because he was playing pretty strong there for Tweed in reserve grade. So Tremaine Spry, he might not be there round 1, guys, but he's my player to watch for the Titans in 2020. All right, now this one's an interesting one, guys, for the Manly Seagulls. I've gone with Cade Cust. Now, you're probably thinking, Clarkey, he probably won't be 5'8", and I'm aware of that, but we have an issue here, and the Seagulls have an issue because they don't have a hooker. They just don't. They let one go, and, Manase Fainu, we won't touch on the legalities or what's going on there, but we will say that the NRL has a no-fault stand-down policy that means unless he goes to court soon and the court goes, oh no, you're completely innocent, which we know is unlikely with the way the Australian judicial system works, he can't play NRL. He could literally walk into the court and say, we're going to adjourn this case because you're 99.9% non-guilty. He still can't play NRL because of this controversial rule. So they need someone. And from what I saw from Cade Cust last year, great passing game, great short kicking game, most importantly, very important there. And I thought he was relatively strong on defense. Now, he's about 90 kilos, so he probably is a bit of a larger 5'8". Do I think he can defend 80 minutes in the middle after one preseason? No, I don't. I think they'll still have to carry someone on the bench, or maybe he'll be the one that gets carried off the bench and comes into hooker position. But when I look at their options for hooker there, I seriously think he's their best. I know Zach Docker-Clay is being discussed as a potential hooker there, but look, he's a halfback. He's always been a halfback. He was the next best thing coming through. It's never really progressed for him. He's always sort of been stuck at that reserve grade level. And he's a small dude. I think he's only like 70-something kilos. I can almost guarantee there's no way he defends in the middle. for a whole 80 minutes there, and he doesn't have NRL experience. So when I put it all together, Cade Cust, he's my Manly hooker, he's my player to watch in 2020. All right, guys, for the Melbourne Storm, I've gone with Tino Fuasumawalawi. That was wrong. Fasamawali. Yep, Tino Faz. He, obviously rumoured to the New Zealand Warriors now. We don't know whether that's official. I believe it's likely to occur. And for that reason, I'm not sure if Bellamy will give him too much game time, but I did select him before these rumours sort of came to fruition. But let's assume that the rumours are false because they're not confirmed. He was immense for the Sunshine Coast Falcons last year. He was great during his time in the NRL. He was actually meant to debut years ago as like a teenager, but he suffered some sort of freak injury in a trial game. Oh, pardon me. And that denied him that chance. He's come back, rehabbed, he's better than ever. He can play big minutes. He's fit. He's like a mini Nelson Asofa Solomona for me. And we've seen Craig Bellamy turn relatively average forwards into world killers. And then we've seen them, I'll use maybe the Tohu Harris wasn't the same at the Warriors. Kevin Proctor isn't the same at the Titans. And Tim Glasby realistically wasn't the same at the Knights this year. So we've seen players really flourish under Bellamy, but then go elsewhere and not have as successful careers. And we know he gets the best out of his forwards. So for that reason, 2020, Tino Faz is my player to watch. For the Newcastle Knights, guys, if you don't know his name now, I guarantee you will know his name by the end of this year. I believe he will have a similar year to Bronson Xerri last year, in the fact that Bronson was 18, no one knew who he was. Now we're talking about him for the Blues, and he's an absolute star. Well, look no further than Bradman Best, because I believe he will be the Bronson Xerri story of the 2020 NRL season. He's a freak. He's 18. I mean, look at him. He's like a man-child. He literally is. Like, look at him. That's an 18-year-old. He is so strong, powerful, freakish. He's had NRL experience now. He will kick on and have a great 2020, in my opinion. And I wouldn't rule him out for Rookie of the Year. I'd say he's my early choice for that also. For the Cowboys, guys, I've gone with Reece Robson. Reece Robson was a special talent for the Dragons in New South Wales Cup. I can't believe they didn't give him more NRL time. Now, for me, Reece Robson is a fantastic player, and I firmly believe he will take the number 9 jersey off Jake Granville by the end of this year. I mean, obviously being stuck behind Cam McInnes is never fun. Very hard to break into that side, but what did he do? Well, he led the Dragons New South Wales Cup side to the minor premiership in New South Wales Cup. So he's obviously a very impressive player. He Australian under-20s player. He's done everything he needs to do to come through the ranks. He's still young. He's my player to watch for the Cowboys, and I do believe he will take Granville's jersey by the end of this year. For the Eels, a really tough one to pick for because their 17 is so cemented with experience. It's unlikely many young guns break in, but I will say Oregon Kaufusi if I had to choose one, purely based on the fact he was set to leave the club, and then this club sort of came out and re-signed him pretty quickly. Now, that could have been one of two things. Number one, his manager could have been saying, we're leaking those rumours of him leaving to force the Eels into rushing that deal. Or number two, it could be the Eels said to him, Oregon, you're a player of our future. We do want to keep you, and we promise we will give you NRL time through 2020. I don't know whether that was option 1 or 2. I'll let you guys decide that. But for me, if there was a young gun from the Eels that was going to break through and play a couple good games this year, I think it's Oregon Kaufusi. For the Panthers, I don't think he'll be there round 1 also, but Stephen Crichton, if there is an injury to any of the outside backs, I see him coming straight in. I love this guy. He reminds me of sort of like a young Michael Jennings almost. So fast, so agile, really long steps and pace, great fend. I love everything about his game, and whilst I'll concede he won't be there in round 1, I think by the end of the year he's a big chance to take Dean Whare's jersey. For me, the only thing stopping him from taking Dean Whare's jersey is the fact Brian To'o is outside him, and he's also a teenager. And, if you have a teenager at centre and winger that are not as experienced in the NRL, it's pretty likely teams are going to target that edge. But I can tell you right now, I believe if Malachi Watene-Zelezniak or an experienced winger was outside Stephen Crichton, I think he'd take Whare's jersey tomorrow. Probably not as defensively sound as Dean Whare, which coaches, obviously love defense over anything in the NRL. But look, If it doesn't happen this year, guys, it will happen very soon. Stephen Crichton, my player to watch for 2020, a great talent. For the Rabbitohs, I have gone with Adeni Gebi, just an absolute freak. I mean, he averaged over 200 metres last year in Queensland Cup. He was basically the Tedesco of Queensland Cup, and his stats were very, very similar to Tedesco's. I think maybe better. Which is, obviously he's facing lesser opposition, but insane. Shows his talent. The Rabbitohs do need a fullback, and we're not sure whether that's going to be Adam Dewey or Alex Johnston, but both are sort of makeshift fullbacks for the moment. They haven't cemented that as their permanent position, whereas Adeni has. And he can also play wing, so there's an option there also. Very, very exciting player, guys. I don't know if you're watching the test. He basically broke a couple tackles and ran the whole field. Great player, my player to watch for the Rabbitohs in 2020. For the Dragons, I've gone with Jason Saab. I just think this guy's a freak. He's, he just great under the high ball, fast, excellent finisher, still a teenager. I just think when I watch Jason Saab play, whether that's at NRL or New South Wales Cup level, I just can't see a way where he doesn't go on to be a great winger in the NRL. I think he'll have an amazing career. He is, he's a freak. I don't know what else to say. Great player. Love what he's about. And, he's my player to watch for the Dragons in 2020. Enough said. For the Roosters, hard to go past Kyle Flanagan because, even if I wanted to say someone else, the rest of their 17 has basically stayed together and won back-to-back premierships. So I'm not really going to sit here and go, keep a watch on that Boyd Cordner guy. Apparently he's pretty good. Or that Jared Hargraves guy, he's pretty good also. We sort of know how good they are. But he is coming into an environment where we have Cooper Cronk stick around and mentor him in a coaching role. He was fantastic in his games for the Sharks. He actually had a win percentage higher than Sean Johnson whilst being in the 17 for the Sharks last year, which is a glimpse into his potential. This is sort of a hard one to speak about, which probably explains me saying every second, because the Roosters are so dominant and well established. So with all that in mind, guys, Kyle Flanagan is my player to watch for next season. For the New Zealand Warriors, I've gone with Wade Egan. Couple of injuries over their hookers in Jazz Tavanga, Carl Lawton returning from injury. I think he might be fit for round one. And Nathaniel Roach, I don't know if he'll be fit for round one. So all in all, I think Wade Egan slots straight into that Warriors jersey. And he had a bit of a tough run at the Panthers, had a couple good games. But as we know, it's so hard to lock down a spot in the NRL as a young gun. But Andrew Johns did say he reminds him a lot of a young Cameron Smith, which is obviously a huge compliment, a huge honour, and a glimpse into his potential, which I think we'll see a bit more of in 2020. So Wade Egan, he is my New Zealand Warriors 2020 player to watch. And finally, guys, for the West Tigers, I've gone with Billy Walters. Obviously, Josh Reynolds has domestic violence charges over his head. We don't know if he'll be there in round one. Jacob Liddell will be back earlier than expected, but still likely not for round one from, I believe, an ACL injury. They need a hooker. Robbie Farah has retired. Billy Walters is probably the next best makeshift hooker they have. You watch his games for the Melbourne Storm last year. Above all, he is a fantastic defender, an excellent defender, and therefore I believe he could play in the middle and defend very well there. So Billy Walters, keep an eye on this guy. He is my player to watch in 2020 for the West Tigers, guys. But that is going to wrap up my video today, guys. My one player to watch from every single team this year. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments, guys, whether you're watching on Facebook, IGTV, or YouTube. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I do appreciate it. I probably wouldn't commit so many hours every week to the page and making these videos if I didn't get great responses from you guys, and that really makes it all worthwhile for me. So thanks so much, guys. I'll see you in the next video, and take it easy.